keeping the barbarians from the gate.
I got into the labor movement not because I wanted to negotiate wages. I got into the labor movement because I saw it as a vehicle to do massive social change to improve the lots of people.
Let's take these son of a out and give America back to America where we belong. Thank you very much. Thank you.
As far as I'm concerned, the Tea Party can go straight to hell.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
Start of hour number 2 begins right now. Brian Summerfield, Trucker Randy, your defending fathers.
Brian, I wanted to have a new sponsor come into the studio with you this morning, spend part of this hour with them and introducing them to our audience and also asking them some questions about their business. Want to welcome to the show Bob and Ed from Diversified Sales and Service and their Foil-Rite system. Want to talk to them about it this morning. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Randy.
Good morning.
I wanted to have you guys on primarily because being new sponsors to the show, people have heard the spot playing with the fighting bell ringing and fighting high energy costs. And Bob, I wanted you to talk about a little bit about briefly your short resume as far as energy, what you've been involved in the past, and we'll take it from there.
Well, in the late 70s, I received my RSES degree, Refrigeration Service Engineer degree, and believe it or not, ended up taking on a job with a solar company, which ended up being the largest solar space heating company in the country, right here in Petoskey, called Energy Marketing Group. And through the years there, we learned a lot about managing the free heat available from our sun, and that parlayed itself into many, I can say, energy-saving things, and we've seen it over the years how reflective technology keeps the heat in those heating ducts and keeps the heat out in the summertime, but it was never a thing where it was utilized in our American homes. And so with a solar background and being in the business for years and seeing a lot of people's homes with problems, it all was a natural fit when we come up with the Foil-Rite solution, so to speak. And I'm the mad scientist in the back room, as Ed likes to call it. Says, Bob, if there's a solution, you're the guy to go figure out what it has. And a lot has to do with the background of where I came from. So anyway, it's been really fun, and what is really nice, foil is nothing new. It's been around for many, many years. It's been, if you've ever used a thermos, you understand how it works. It works great, whether it's keeping your coffee hot or it's trying to keep your lemonade cold in a boat in the middle of the summer when it's blazing hot out. And Grandma used it when she baked potatoes in the oven or a turkey where you didn't scorch the outside and the inside's raw, just controlling the heat. They use it with the spacesuits. They utilize it in space blankets, the survival blankets. And even the firefighters, to save their life, they have these things that can pop out if they get overrun by a fire, and they just blouse it over themselves, climb into it, and can save their life if a fire sweeps over them.
And Randy, I know, this is Ed, I'm going to interject. I know, Bob, you're a big NASCAR fan, aren't you?
Oh, you betcha.
They even use this foil technology in race cars, don't they?
Yeah, they got to keep from being baked alive by the exhaust and the heat and the high horsepower engines, lightweight and very efficient.
Right. But one of the things that caught my attention when we first met too, and we have a short segment right here. We'll go to a break in about a minute or so. But a little bit about that technology that started, like you said, in the 70s and 80s. A lot of it you understood with regards to interacting with the sun and solar power.
Exactly. And what we learned is what you got to do is utilize it to your benefit. Keep the heat in when you want it, and keep the heat out when you don't want it. And we've found the perfect avenue with this foil radiant barrier. And a stumbling block always been, how do you get it in place? And that is where our Grand Slam home run come in when we come up with the Foil-Rite product.
Yeah, and we want to get into that whole process after the break. But real quick, before we go, what is the phone number? And for people to be able to get a hold of you, I want to get that out right here.
Sure. We have a toll-free number. That's 888-427-6527. Linda's manning the phones at the home office. You can give Linda a call. She can give you more information. But we are offering a free home inspection where we can check out your problems. I know a lot of people had icicles and ice dams this year. So if you'll give us a call, we'll offer a free inspection. And the first 10 callers that schedule an appointment, we're also going to offer a free hot water tank blanket.
Oh, cool.
As a little incentive, yep.
Very good. Well, we'll talk about it when we get back from the break. We're visited this hour with Bob and Ed from Diversified Sales and Service, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, Brian Summerfield, Trucker Randy, your defending fathers. On this Tuesday morning, we have guests in studio today, both Bob and Ed. We're talking about the company that they own, and our houses are typically one of our largest investments. We make large payments on them every month, most of us, and it occupies a large amount of our income. One of the things that we do is we try to keep our houses up. There's, if there's a gutter that needs to be repaired, if the lawn, something needs to be done with it, if there's a water heater that goes, there's things that always come up that we need to make sure that we keep our homes up to the certain level that they're at. And this winter, I think, was a really good test on a lot of homes. And some homes passed the test with flying colors, and others might have got a few things wrong that needed to be corrected. And my house was one of those. I noticed in my house early on that I had ice building up along the sides that was way beyond normal and very concerning. I'm like, boy, I hope I make it through this winter without having to replace or heavily repair my roof. And so when they came along and said, hey, guess what, here's what we can do, I not only was all ears, but excited to see that there was a solution for something that needed to be repaired in my house, just to make sure that it maintains its value and doesn't require a lot more costly repairs.
And that's a question that I was going to ask exactly, Bob, Ed. In this example of Brian's home, when you guys went over there, based on your background, explain to the audience a little bit as far as what you saw and immediately knew what potentially some of the problems Brian had with his house.
Well, they came with a bunch of sawdust because they figured they could pack away a lot of this ice and use it in refrigeration for at least a couple months.
That's pretty cute. It's very typical what we run into at Brian's house there. Believe it or not, there's 80% of the homes in the United States are under-insulated. But other things just as important is ventilation. And when you see ice dams and icicles, that's a warning sign. And troubles are on set. They're going to be coming up where you can have ice dams and they can start leaking in your house, cause damage to your insulation, your ceilings, and it just gets nasty and costly. It doesn't have to be. First thing is the diagnosis. Like looking at Brian's house, first thing we notice is, we need some more insulation here. Oh boy, let's take a look at this. You got to have more ventilation. And something else that's very common, most people don't realize, we notice that the bathroom fan, the vent from you take a shower or a bath and the humidity goes in there, it was directly injected into the attic. And that's not a good thing, because you wouldn't want to have damp sweater or damp clothes on out in the wintertime. You don't have your insulation value with what insulation you do have. So when we see this, it needs to be corrected.
So a prime indicator is like Brian said, ice dams and icicles. That's a situation where basically heat is escaping and then as the outside cold, bitter cold air we've had, polar vortex and all these unbelievably minus temperatures we've had, that causes that melting water, if you will, to come down and form an icicle and freeze. That's because of the cycling going on between the house losing heat and the cold outside air?
Yes, and that's part of it. And other things we're seeing is when we see the backside of the roof deck with frost on it on the inside of your attic, that's not good either. And there's a lot of things that we're looking for, and so it's like a recipe. Every house is different, and virtually we got to see it to see what the problem is to have the solution.
Well, not anybody that I know of, when it's 20 below outside, is going to get up in their attic and inspect what's going on up there. So a lot of us probably don't even know what is happening up there.
That's correct.
That's why you want to, have someone come out like DSSI and do that inspection. I drove around this winter and I was amazed just looking at homes and their roofs. Some of the roofs had the snow on it, some of them didn't, and it's real cold, yet the snow was melting. That indicates to me that there's a heat loss going on.
And that's right at the roof line where near your soffits, when you see icicles and ice dams building up, it's just the process of melting the snow that's there, then it refreezes. And that's where the big trouble begins. And early on, a lot of these homes out there, most of them don't have what's called an energy heel truss. And that's an area which is extended higher so they can put more of the regular insulation and your bulk insulation. But our Grand Slam home run is all these existing homes where you don't have the space to put in tons of insulation, yet that's where we utilize reflective technology, which is very unique to many people. Once again, we're going to reflect the heat back to the house, reflect the cold away from the house. And in doing so, it serves a double purpose, and what it does, it takes that problem and it's the solution. It's the silver bullet, so to speak, to take that problem and eliminate it.
Well, one of the things that I want you to describe...
Randy, wait 1 second. I've got a phone call I want to take.
Okay.
You're on with your Defending Fathers.
Thank you. I have a question. I know that in the cathedral ceiling, the baffles are to go all the way to the ridge cap. And I also am wondering, I have an 812 pitch in my attic and new construction, and I've only put one 4-foot baffle in and then stuffed the overhang with 6-inch batting, and I'm going to blow in 12 inches of cellulose. Is that adequate, or should I put another baffle up towards that the peak because of the 812 pitch?
Well, in that instance, you want to have airflow come right from your soffits right up to your peak. If you've got like a ridge vent, you've got to let it breathe. If it only comes up so far and stops, and there's no airflow, that can create a problem there. Like every home is unique, and you brought up a perfect example of, okay, we got ventilation to the soffit, we got a ridge vent, but if the air's plugged and it can't go anywhere to carry the air through, that is usually a tough one to deal with, and that steep of a pitch, and you're limited amount of what you can do. So during construction, it's best to consult somebody and look at what you have, and you want to get airflow going through there, but you have a limited space, so you really got to look at your R values. And something most people don't have any grasp on is reflective technology has what's called a U value, where when it's incorporated with your insulation, it makes an insulation system where you can reflect your heat away to the house in a wintertime when you want it, and the cold away, or vice versa in the summertime.
Okay, thank you very much. You've answered my question clearly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you might want to consider having Ed and Bob over to specifically give you a free inspection and have them verify and double check it just to make sure what you guys told them was accurate. But the concept, this just amazed me. Bob, I want you to describe, because we've talked about reflective technology and all this other stuff, but bottom line, you came up with an idea to basically shred aluminum foil and figure out a way to blow the darn stuff up into the attic. How did you come up with that idea?
Well, in 2004, I built a high energy efficient home, And in doing so, I wanted reflective technology because I know how well it works with the solar panels, the solar ducting that we've been doing for years and years. And only thing had been available was sheet goods that you staple in on the backside of your trusses. That's only going to work for you in the summertime. Or if you're going to lay it on your insulation, you lay it on your insulation, but you got to have 3/4 of an inch air space, so it becomes a reflector rather than a conductor. So just laying sheet goods on your insulation doesn't do you that good. It becomes
because you said have to have 3/4 inch of air space between the two.
Correct.
So how in the heck are you going to suspend a sheet 3/4 of an inch above your pink fiberglass?
That's our point specifically. And that's why you don't see a lot of it in the northern climates, because in doing so, all they have is small pinholes through that, and you don't get enough airflow to vent it, so to speak. Our process, what we did, I used the sheet goods when I built my house. It took me 101 man-hours to install the sheet goods and suspend it like it's supposed to. And I thought, this is ridiculous. If we can shred it and blow it in, it's going to breathe, and that's where it all started. And we shredded some foil, and we tried blowing it with conventional machines. It did not happen. Within seconds, they were plugged up, jammed up, and it was a nightmare, every machine we tried. And that's where we put the thinking cap on, went in a back shop, and we built a machine that was like a tornado in a container, where we can literally blow it in like silver snow, get our 3/4 inch airspace within, and phenomenal results.
And probably can get it in places like you were describing, where you don't have the hi-hat trusses going up to the overhang. You can actually get it up in there where you couldn't do it with regular, normal pink fiberglass insulation.
Oh, actually, what we like to do is make an insulation system, where we utilize your existing insulation and maybe put some cellulose on the top, because it will act like a thermal quilt, so to speak, or like a feather tick. Then put our foil on top, and it's just incredible what we can do with that.
Well, you talked about, Bob, if you folks picture your house, how your roof comes down and meets your soffit, and if you ever get up in your attic and crawl to that area, you'll see how narrow of a space that is. So it's very difficult to put an adequate amount of insulation where the roof meets the soffits.
Well, say overhang, so people know exactly what you're talking about.
You got it. Yeah, the overhang. So there's a very limited space there, and that's the problem with older homes, is that you can't get adequate insulation into that area.
Not to mention, through the roof, when they put roofing on, you have all these roofing nails sticking down, that if you try to climb there to put it down in there, you're going to get poked and stabbed in the head, and it's close quarters, and you've got your face in the insulation. So our system, where we literally blow it in on top of that, it just works phenomenal.
Well, you can get it in those tight spaces.
Absolutely. And what took me 101 man-hours to do it with conventional sheet goods, to do it properly, I went back and done it with the Foil-Rite method. 3 hours we're done instead of 100 hours. And that's
2.5 work weeks versus 3 hours.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
And that's cost effective when you can do it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we get back from the bottom of the hour news break, I want to talk about how exactly, like you said earlier, the reference about the thermos bottle. Not only this can help with snow and ice and insulate and lower heating bills, but the factor what it does for air conditioning in the summer. But I got a chat message here real quick. What's the phone number again?
Yeah, phone number is 888-427-6527.
888-427-6527. 6527.
And
okay, I typed it out to them.
And the first 10 callers
receive a free hot water tank insulation blanket.
So you can keep the hot water hotter longer without it having to constantly turn on and reheat your water.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's all about
we're talking with Bob and Ed from Diversified Sales and Service. They're a new sponsor to the show. You'll be hearing their spot throughout the day playing. And we want to ask some more questions, get into, now that we're hopefully coming into spring and summer, what it might be able to do for folks in saving on their air conditioning costs. So we'll talk about that when we get back, Brian.
You mean we get to save in the summer too?
Sure do.
back with more of Your Defending Fathers. Hey, welcome back to the program. Brian Summerfield, Trucker Randy, Your Defending Fathers. A rare occurrence. In the studio guest today, we've got Bob and Ed talking about their product. We have all been facing how cold it's been all winter long. We've been fighting the high energy bills. We have been fighting the damage of the cold effects of the polar vortex on our homes in the forms of icicles and dams and everything else. And we're still not through with it yet. You can still go outside in a lot of these places and still see what's going on. And thanks for being in studio today. Appreciate it. I think this is an educational opportunity for so many people. Again, sometimes you see something, you don't know the effects. Now you're going to take a look at it and say, oh, wow, there's a problem.
Yes, and we've got an answer for that problem, too.
Well, one of the things, got a chat message on Facebook during the break. For people who haven't had you guys out yet to do a free inspection and haven't obviously had your product installed yet, question came up was, now that it's getting up into the 40s this week and soon hopefully getting into the 50s, to help avoid problems as far as the shingles getting damaged or water backing up under the shingles because of these dams. The question was, do they recommend getting up there with a ladder and trying to break the ice dams off of the gutters when it starts warming up here, getting in the 40s and 50s?
That can be dangerous to the person doing that, and secondly, that's where you can cause a lot of damage to your roof. There's some professional companies out there. They use something like, I've heard them called a Hotsie. It's like a steam cleaner where they can actually cut the ice away and break it loose, so it's not going to cause damage to your roof. There's also products out there, they make a puck, so to speak, look like a hockey puck, but they're of a salt type issue where you can toss them up there as the sun hits it, and it creates like a salt water which will help dissolve what you have. If that's okay, let's take care of the problem and let's solve it so it never comes back again. Is something you really want to look into.
Would anything like that be safe?
Well, it's like, Ryan, when we were at your house on Friday there, you had ice dams and they were melting just before the rain hit, and there was chunks of ice falling down, and we had to be very careful going in and out of your garage there because we could have got hit in the head with falling ice. And yes, there's a lot of damage that can be and will be caused by these ice dams and icicles that's out there now.
I mean to your house, not to individuals.
The salt pucks.
Yeah, I'm talking about should you go up and try to take this ice out of there, or just let nature take its course?
I believe that's a lot of times you're best off let nature take its course this time, then prepare yourself so you don't have to deal with it in the future.
And as an indicator, with like Ed mentioned, driving around through a subdivision, he'll notice certain roofs that don't have any snow on it. Obviously, the heat loss is tremendous from that house, and that's basically what has cleared those roofs, other than some of the neighbors who still have a lot of snow. So that's is that maybe like the primary indicator people should look at their roofs right now and see if they still have snow on them?
Well, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because what's happening is there's a loss of heat energy coming up through your attic. Attics are notorious for losing heat in the winter and gaining too much heat in the summer. And this foil technology is the missing link in attic insulation. If you can picture your insulation as a sponge, in the wintertime heat rises, heats up your ceilings, and then it heats up your insulation, just like a water absorbing or a sponge absorbing water. Once that sponge is full of water, it's going to leak. And that's exactly what happens to your insulation. It becomes full of heat, and because your attic is so cold, that heat radiates out of your insulation, causing a heat loss and causing icicles and ice dams. When you put a layer of our Foil-Rite on top of your insulation, It acts like a two-way mirror. So it's reflecting that radiant heat that would normally leak out of your insulation. It's reflecting it back down. So you have this nice warm blanket of insulation all day long and all night long on your ceilings. So it keeps your home warmer longer.
And then the top side of that Foil-Rite is actually reflecting the cold away from the insulation.
Correct.
And in the summertime, you alluded to, Randy, it works for you just as hard because now it's going to be reflecting the heat away from your attic in your house, not saturating your attic and your insulation and your ceiling and making your home hot in the summertime. So it works both ways. Like Ed had mentioned, it's like a two-way mirror on top of your insulation. And that's why we turned it into like an insulation system.
Right, and the neat thing, the analogy that you used with me when I first met you guys is just, it makes so much sense, is the old simple, it's been around for, my dad carried one to work every day, a thermos. You know, in the wintertime, Mom would put hot coffee in there for him, and in the summertime, she'd put lemonade with ice in there, and the thermos concept just totally brought it home to me that that's really what this system's all about.
We used to do some home shows and energy shows, Randy, and that's one of our little items we would show people coming by our booth is a thermos. We'd open it up, we'd show them that there's no insulation in a thermos bottle. All there is two reflective surfaces separated by a dead air space.
Right. And so that's totally how this process works. One of the questions I got, another chat message, is how exactly do you guys, what type of aluminum foil do you use that you shed and put into these attics?
This is very good question. We utilize a food-grade aluminum foil. And this way here, it's not going to be corroded by any of your insulation and your fire retardants that's in your, let's say, your cellulose insulation, and so it's inert, and it's going to last forever. It's going to stay shiny for a long time, and it's made by Alcoa. Yeah, it's actually Reynolds Wrap. We utilize it in the commercial productive mode where we process it right in our own processing center.
Okay, so that's food grade, like you say. So if there's moisture, condensation, or any kind of things like that, it wouldn't affect this material in any way.
That's exactly correct, and it just lasts forever. If you lost a piece of foil off your barbecue grill and you found it next summer laying against your fence, it's still shiny. It's not going to degrade. The sun's not going to hurt it, and it just lasts forever. It's a one-time application.
In a typical residential application, a lot of us here in northern Michigan have propane, which has gone through the roof this year. But even folks with natural gas, typically after you install this product in somebody's home, what's been some of their feedback as far as how much they've actually been able to save on their heating bills throughout the winter?
You know, that is one of the hardest things to track because this winter and last winter are just worlds apart.
Right.
And one house to the next, if they have kids and dogs going in and out, that can be a big difference. But one thing we noticed, every person says, my house just feels warmer. Our furnace is running less in addition to, less fuel. So if you really add it up, we have customers saying, well, gee, I only saved 25%. And we have other customers saying, it cut my heating bill in half. Or the guy that says, hey, I heat with wood. My goodness, it's like took 25% of my wood cutting away. So I get every fourth year off.
Right. So they range, like you say, based on their lifestyle and how many people in the family coming in and out. Dogs, I know all about that. My two dogs have to go out like every 2 or 3 hours. They just like to get outside.
Absolutely.
And that door gets opened in the great room, and a lot of heat goes right out the door with them.
And something, Ed, why don't you bring on to how we explain how the different heat and like the holding a bucket.
Well, that's a good picture. Picture a pail full of water, and this bucket has 3 holes in it. Well, heat leaks through an attic or passes through an attic in 3 ways: by conduction, convection, and radiation. Normal or conventional insulation like fiberglass and cellulose deals with only 2 of the 3 ways that heat is transferred. They deal with conduction and convection. They do not address radiation, and that's your biggest heat loss and gain through an attic. So if you plug 2 holes of that bucket and the biggest one is still leaking, you're still losing money and you're still losing comfort in your home.
And making icicles and ice dams.
Yeah, so it's the foil technology when added to conventional insulation. Now it becomes a total insulating system. Now you've addressed all 3 forms of heat loss and gain: conduction, convection, and radiation, and you win. You get lower energy bills and higher comfort.
And this has been verified. We had a customer down in Lansing. He deals with thermal imaging and infrared cameras, and he says, Bob, we can't even see through it with our infrared cameras. I mean, I says, well, the answer is real simple. 97% of your infrared heat is being reflected away. So that 3% signature, if you can't see through it with his thermal cameras that he sells to the fire departments. And
Are you saying we can drone-proof our house?
You said it, not me, but that's where it goes. He was saying that.
Yeah, Brian, I was just sitting here listening to this. I'm like, wait a minute, them drones flying over, then they're not going to be able to see where we are inside the house.
There's no heat signature.
Interesting.
See, if Pakistan would have had this technology, Osama bin Laden might still be alive.
That's it. they saw exactly how many people were in that house over there. So.
Yep.
Well, listen, guys, appreciate you coming into the studio. I think this technology needs to get out there. You have received a patent on this product, right, Bob?
Yes, we have. It was a long, drawn-out process, and wife sat down with a pencil, and she says, Bob, for what we spent on this project, oh, my goodness, that was a big chunk of our retirement. And I says, dear, we've got to help a lot of people here, and it's really been fantastic. And we have so many happy customers. I'm almost scared to say, hey, call these people, because they'll think they're on our payroll the way people talk how well it works.
Right. Well, one thing that we're excited about is you came up with this system right here in northern Michigan.
Hey, we're a Michigan-based company using Michigan technology for the state of Michigan, and I can see this going all over the entire country because of how fast it is to put in. Everybody else is struggling with either a Mylar-based product, which has got plastic to it, and you don't want to have the condensation issues with that, and just how quickly it can be put in and how efficiently. So, I don't know, we are on track here. We believe in our mission here at what you guys do at Patriot Radio, putting information and solutions for freedom of loving Americans to thrive and survive in these trying times, man.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you guys coming in this morning, and give the phone number again real quick.
888-427-6527. Give us a call. We'll come out and do a free inspection, and first 10 callers receive that free hot water blanket.
Thanks a lot, guys, for coming in.
Thank you much.
Hey, we'll be back with more. We are your Diversified. Hey, welcome back. Final segment of hour number 2. Brian Summerfield, Trucker Randy, your defending father. So, pretty educational for you there, huh, Randy?
It was. I had Bob and Ed down here at my home, and they did an analysis. My home's newer, built in 2006.
I thought maybe you were going to go into like in my hometown. I thought maybe you were going to break into an old song or something.
Well, the thing of it is you know, you would think a house that's only 7 years old,
mm-hmm.
you know, built in 2006, high efficiency furnace, 1 inch thick, triple glazed, insulated wood windows, you would automatically assume that, you know, they insulated it to the best of technology that was available. It was amazing. I have huge ice dam over the front door, over the entrance, and pointed out and showed me exactly where the heat loss was coming from, causing the problems on the front of my house. And I'm like, well, this house was only built in 2006. I mean, the technology's been out there. Why haven't these, this contractor that built this house, why didn't he utilize it? And he said, honestly, there's really no, code that dictates exactly the specifications of what needs to be done in these houses. That's why, like Bob said, 80% of them are under-insulated. You have a insulation inspection when you're going through the construction process before the drywall can be put up. And the township's inspectors come out and they look at the insulation, and they have, so much in the walls, so much in the ceiling. They check and make sure that things are done proper. The one thing he commented about your vent fan in the bathroom. Those are never allowed now under new construction to be vented into attics. You actually have to have a direct pipe that goes up through the roof to have that moist air sucked out of your bathrooms. So you can't just simply drop those exhaust lines up into an attic anymore. The condensation and the problems that it causes for mold and different things, those codes have been addressed. But nowhere does it say you have to have R60 in your ceiling, which is really, here in northern Michigan, kind of almost a minimum standard that you should have up there. A lot of houses may have, R36 or 19 even in the attics, and it's just simply not enough. When they explained to me that not only can they put this blanket, this two-way mirror over top of your current insulation, they can add some additional insulation first and then put that blanket over it. I was just totally impressed. When I saw this whole process, and they gave me a DVD and said, we like what you and Brian and guys are doing on the radio there on Patriot Voice. We want to sponsor you guys. We want to run spots on there, but we want to get the information out about this technology. I think you may have just had in the studio there, Brian, a guy that eventually down the road will probably be a multimillionaire. When this thing hits the market and goes, like he said, across the country, I could see Alcoa buying his patent out, and getting it openly available to a lot of different contractors that will have to use his machine, special machine he talked about, he came up with to be able to blow this into the attics. I think the guy is onto something that energy costs are only going to go up. Look what Obama's done to electrical costs for air conditioning in the summertime, propane, natural gas costs, what they're going to be doing in the future. Invest in this technology now, get it installed in your homes, and start benefiting. They do, by the way, banks will provide financing for this product. Bob's already been in touch with some banks, and they'll provide home improvement type loans to make it affordable monthly for you. If you don't have the money to pay for it in full out of pocket, you can get a monthly payment plan out of the deal that will probably be cheaper than what your gas bills are going to be next year.
10 years ago, when I put new siding on my house, I put the Tyvek on, I put the 1-inch blue board or green board on, I put the vinyl over top of that, I replaced a lot of the windows. And when you think about it, when you put on a jacket in winter when it's as cold as it's been, it doesn't matter how good your jacket is, you better have a pretty good hat on. You got to keep the heat in. And one thing that I really lacked when I did all that other stuff to my house is I didn't quite do a good enough job in the top part. And talking about that radiant barrier, I think if there's one takeaway from it, you've got to understand what that radiant barrier means in your roof system. And that one component, just think of how much damage it could have done to my house if I didn't do something about it. One last thing that we didn't mention while they were here is that, how they talk about Angie's List and go on and find out what contractors and everything are like. I can tell you, when they showed up, they did their job, they left the place cleaner and better than what they found it. Kind of like the way I preach about the way you should treat the beaches around here. When you go to the beach, when you leave, make sure you leave it better than they found it. That's the way they left the job site. And I think that, a lot of times there's a bad rap for contractors for leaving job sites bad. Not these guys. They will treat your house like their own, and I'm extremely happy with what they've done at my place. So that is it for this hour. We've got one more hour to go on this Tuesday. Stick around. We are your Defending Fathers.
This is the Patriot Voice Radio Network.